So the three archetypes that are involved in this full moon in Pisces are obviously Pisces, but we have Saturn slash Capricorn. Saturn is conjunct this full moon. And then we have the sun, which is in the sign of Virgo, which is sending its light to the moon. So on August 30th, 2023, or August 30th here in the Pacific Northwest, we have the super blue full moon in the sign of Pisces, which it's the biggest and brightest moon that we will have this year. The first thing that pops out to me as I look at the aspects to this full moon, which is represented here, we're going to pull Saturn in here. But the moon is here and it's full, meaning it's opposing the sun in Virgo at 7 degrees. And so similar to the creative expression that I had to create in the beginning of this video, where you see the ocean, which is representative of Pisces. If you think of Pisces, there are no boundaries. It's just is. It's just wide open, and it's symbolic of universal consciousness. It's symbolic of emotional depth. It is the ocean. And so it's blending energies with Saturn, and Saturn is all about structure, container, pouring all of that water or pouring some of that water into a container. And so why would you do that? Why would you want to contain the vastness of the ocean? Well, the reason why you would do that is because in this reality, this is a reality of form. We have a body, we have structures, we have this table, we have the earth as a structure. The things on this earth plane have structure, like trees and nature. And so in order for us to interact or be able to tangibly bring things to this reality that we can use, we need Saturn, we need structure. And so with this blending of Saturn in Pisces with this new moon, it's like this amplification of that concept. It's a time for you to allow the structure to present itself, which was different than what my mind was wanting me to say. So with Pisces energy, it's the intangible, it's the intuition, it's the getting information, allowing things to flow to you, and then being able to create something solid, some kind of structure, which is also represented here in the full moon because it's opposing the sun, and the sun is in the sign of Virgo. Virgo is focusing on the dots, is what I like to call it, or focusing on the details to be able to say, how can I bring this thing? What do I need? How do things need to be adjusted? How does this come out in the right way so that it can serve myself and the people around me or people at large, Pisces, the collective. So the aspect here to this full moon, or I'd say the one that's most significant, is this inconjunct to Venus, which is still retrograde in the sign of Leo. So this aspect in and of itself is a Scorpio type aspect. And so what I mean by that, stripping it away to its basic form, this aspect between Venus and this full moon is all about how do I take my self-expression, Leo ruled by the sun. So think of there being a flashlight on Venus, which is yourself, what you need to sustain yourself, how you feel about yourself. And it's the symbol of relationships, and it's retrograde, which means it's more of the internal side of Venus, the Taurus side of Venus. Adjustments, refinement. How do I bring this out to society? Maybe I've worked on something within myself, or I actually have a project that I'm working on that is creative from my point of view. And it's been a bit off. I've tried certain things. I really feel within me that it's something that I want to bring forward, that I feel I need to bring forward, but I haven't quite found the right ways to do it, or the ways that I've done it. The feedback that I've received is that it's not quite it. Adjustments need to be made. And so with this full moon, with the light of the sun shining on this super full blue moon, and this aspect to Venus, this is shining a light to say, hey, these are the things, or this is the way, or this is what you weren't seeing, or this is the way. These are some of the adjustments that need to be made so that this can be, there is a solid structure, Saturn, for this to be brought forward. It's being brought forward in a way that is authentic to you, Venus and Leo, but is also being brought forward in a way that can be received in the right way energetically by those close to you and the collective. So when Saturn is in the mix, the rulers of Pisces, the rulers of Pisces get pulled into this energetic expression. So I say rulers because there's a traditional and there's a modern ruler. The traditional ruler is Jupiter, which is in Taurus, which is somewhat blending energies with Uranus that just went retrograde yesterday. So we have a whole boatload of symbols that have gone retrograde. And retrograde, just from a topical explanation of retrograde, is going back within, making adjustments, understanding things on a deeper level, or having things come back around, people, opportunities, ideas, where they come back around, where you're able to say, okay, this is what I was missing, or it's now time for me to package this in a way that's the most authentic. So there's Jupiter, there's Neptune, which is retrograde, which has been in the sign of Pisces for a while now. So we're back to Venus because Jupiter is in Taurus along with Uranus in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. And with Venus in retrograde, it's pointing to Taurus. So this energy is important. And if you think of Jupiter, Jupiter is the expander. It's the how can we take our self-expression? How can we take our creativity? How can we take what's the focal point of our life right now? And how can we expand upon it? How can we make it better? How can we bring it forward in some way that can be of service to the people around me, to myself, and to the collective? The next symbol that I get pulled to is these nodes, which moved into Aries and Libra. So that's going to be the underlying theme of all of these energies, all of these energy reads that I'm going to do, or anyone else is going to do, up until the beginning of 2025. So that's the undercurrent of this energetic expression. And so we just had Mars, which is the ruler of Aries, head off into Libra, which is the sign that the South Node is in Libra. So Mars, the underlying energy of Mars is I need to take some type of action. You fill in the blank what that action is. What I get intuitively with that ruler of Aries being in the sign of Libra is I get the separating action of Mars. Mars can be a symbol of I need to separate from things. And with Libra, Libra is the outer expression of Venus, which is relationships. So certainly taking action in terms of relationships, which could mean with all of this retrograde energy, maybe a new relationship comes in, or more so, what I'm getting for most of you is adjustments within current relationships, becoming aware of who is in your inner circle, who are the people that you interact with on a daily basis, and are they restricting Saturn, which is another part of the symbolism of Saturn is holding some type of restriction. When you think of that container with the water being poured into the container, well, you're only going to be able to put a certain amount of water in that container. So is that container sufficient? Or do I need a bigger container for the amount of water that I want to be able to hold? Right? So think of water symbolically for yourself. What do you want to express for yourself? And is that container appropriate? And so when we connect that to relationships, people are always expanding, they're always growing, they're always evolving. And we're always growing, expanding, and evolving at different rates. And so the people close to you, are they able to match your frequency? Are the things that you're wanting to express the ways that you want to bring your self-expression forward, Venus and Leo? Is that working with the people close to you? Is it not? Are there adjustments that need to be made? Sometimes we are in relationships for a long period of time where we build an emotional connection with somebody and we start to feel like this relationship's not quite giving me what I want, or it isn't quite as, it's not the same as it had been in the past. Things are different now. I'm different now. They're different now. We can't really connect on the same level that we used to connect on. But I have an attachment to them. I'm close friends with them. They're family members, they're coworkers, you name it. inner circle type people, people that you interact with on a regular basis. And so to question for yourself, is this limiting? Is it restricting? And am I holding on to the fact that we're put a label on it? This is my partner. This is my mom. This is my sister. This is my brother. This is my cousin. This is my boss. This is a valuable teammate. Put a label on it. But the underlying energy is, are you splitting? Meaning, I'm continually trying to make this work and trying to work different angles and bring things up and make adjustments, but it's just not working. So questioning, why are you doing it? Understanding, or let's just say getting the feedback for yourself that says, yeah, this just isn't working anymore. Which is the feedback for yourself to say adjustments are needed. And so what I'm getting with this full moon, which is conjunct Saturn, where are the limits? Where are you allowing yourself? So think of the symbolism of the water and the ocean of Pisces. Where are you allowing yourself to be placed into a container because of think of the container as a attachment or a belief system? Where are you allowing yourself to fit into a container? Or where have you allowed yourself to be poured into a container that no longer serves all of who you are, that is allowed to hold more of the water symbolically, who you are? So it may require separation. Mars in Libra, I may need to separate myself or make adjustments or create boundaries or make some type of change that will bring my energy back to myself and allow myself to become free. Using the scenario of a relationship that's no longer working, but I keep bouncing up against the borders of that container to try to get it to feel or to be or to give a response like it had in the past, but it's not working. This could be a time where that spotlight, this full moon, can show that overtly, meaning that you'll get it. The light bulb will come on. It may just be an epiphany. It may be this reading. It may be an external event. It may be something they say. It may be a reaction that they have to you where you are like, oh, got it. We're not on the same page anymore. And so because of that, I need to make these changes. And then those changes get facilitated by the energy here in Virgo. So I just did a small reading on Virgo season. Mercury is in Virgo. It is in retrograde. So again, keep in mind all of this retrograde type energies, making adjustments. The Virgo energy is saying, yeah, what needs to change here? What tweaks, what adjustments do I need to make? And since Mercury is in Virgo, communication will be a big part of that. Being able to be discerning is what's coming up to me. Allowing time is what's coming to me because Mercury is in retrograde. And so when you have Mercury in retrograde, and with Mercury being a personal planet, we feel it more acutely than we would, let's say, the outer planets that go retrograde. It's more in the unconscious, more subtle energetic expressions, where Mercury is more tangible. And so with Mercury retrograde, that symbol is always saying the wholesale changes are probably not what you want to do at this period of time, but being able to pick out and understand the subtle differences in terms of how you've interacted with your environment or how you've expressed yourself in the past and the contrast to how you are feeling now. That's more the energetic expression or the right way to work with that energy with Mercury retrograde in Virgo. What's the subtle changes? What's the differences that I've noticed? What's coming back around potentially to show me things from a different perspective where I can start to make sense and understand changes that may be coming or I may need to make when the timing is right. Saturn also talks about time and space. It's the holder of time and space. And with Saturn in the sign of Pisces, and especially being highlighted by this full moon, there is a timing aspect to things. And so it's not knee jerk reactions or it's not making wholesale changes. It's about being aware. Like what I keep getting here with this Virgo energy too is awareness, becoming aware of places where there needs to be adjustments that have to be made. But it's not taking radical steps or adjustments at this point in time. It's just having those things be brought to our conscious awareness, being brought to our awareness so that we can identify them. Anytime that we want to, or there needs to be changes, it always starts with awareness. Awareness is 80% of it. Once you become aware of it, that's a huge step towards making the change. The awareness facilitates the process of change. So, what I'm getting here is there is going to come a time where the right changes are going to be necessary. And so, I don't want this to be misinterpreted as just sit on your hands. There may be slight tweaks and adjustments that are required at this period of time to open up your energy a little bit more. But it's not the wholesale type changes like I'm going to sell my house and move across the country now, right? It's not that type stuff. Or I'm going to disconnect from 5 people that are in my inner circle. It's more, I have awareness now. I notice things now. I notice these subtle things that are taking place. And so maybe I spend a good amount of my energy on trying to make this work or change something in myself or change something in other people. And now that I'm noticing what I'm doing there and how I'm getting the feedback that that's not the right way to go, I'm going to back off from that. You see what I'm saying? It's more of a subtle change. It's not a wholesale, I'm out of here and I'm going in a different direction. It's more so like that Mars Libra energy with the Mercury in Virgo and retrograde is more like little tweaks, little adjustments. Maybe I spend 3 hours a day with this person and I notice that it's a little bit too much. So now I'm going to adjust that a bit and I'm going to change my schedule a little bit. And maybe now I spend an hour, hour and a half with that person and I see how I feel. How does that feel when I spend less time with that person? Or maybe it's the other way around where you feel good around somebody. And so you make a slight tweak timing wise, Saturn, where I make a tweak now in my schedule, or I make more time in my day to spend a little bit more time with that person, which what I'm getting is can be yourself with Venus in Leo in retrograde. Be able to make subtle tweaks in your schedule to give yourself a little bit more time and a little bit more space so that you can open your energy up a little bit more to see things a little bit more clearly. Can be a representation of this energy here. And I just want to touch on this Aries energy, which has Mars up there in Libra. This transiting North Node in Aries is conjunct Eris, which Eris is a dwarf planet. It's outside of Pluto's orbit. And it symbolizes what the label that's put on it often is triggers, but it's deeper than triggers. It's triggers are only showing you something about yourself or your situation. And so, especially with Mars being in Libra, and there is the energy of Chiron, which is present in this energy here too, which is the wounded healer. With all of this energy retrograde, Uranus just going in the retrograde, I do see a lot of healing in relationships. Mars, which is in Libra, could be past relationships, certainly with the Venus retrograde symbolism, with all of these planets retrograde, revisiting things from the past. There is a lot of healing that's happening during this time. Maybe relationships which shifted at some point in time, they get revisited in some way, whether that's actually meeting with that person, reconnecting with that person, or just you getting a greater understanding during this time period, this full super blue full moon here in Pisces with Saturn conjunct the moon. This gets highlighted where you have some epiphanies or some awarenesses of that interaction or how that relationship was mirroring for you things about yourself or the other person. That's a big part of this energetic expression, too. So, this full moon can facilitate some of that healing, which the healing can be, again, it could be meeting that person, it could be just journaling and understanding things deeper, it could be separating, getting a little bit more space from people, like I already talked about. And so, for you, how this affects you personally is going to vary. If you wanted to know where or get more of an objective view of your experience, where's Pisces in your chart? What house is it in? Where's Virgo in your chart? What axis is that? Because they're going to be opposing houses for the most part, depending on your house system. Where are the nodes of the moon? Where's Libra in your chart? Where's Aries? Where is that axis in your chart? Where does it fall? That would give you a good clue in terms of where this is going to impact you or how this is going to impact you in your life. So I wanted to take a look at the aspects from Jupiter. That's what came through to me to clarify this Jupiter energy a bit more. And so there's this square to this Venus retrograde in Leo, which this is, if we go with Dane Rudhyar's interpretation of this, crisis in action. We have support up here to this Mercury retrograde in Virgo, and we have a creative transformation aspect to this full moon. If I can spell transformation. So this crisis in action, the changes that are coming, the changes that I may need to make, I may see them during this time period, but it may not be easy. That's the crisis in action aspect. And with this Taurus energy, it's personal. There's something in your life that affects you personally, that changes you can see need to be made, which may challenge you a bit, may shake your foundation a little bit. And so that's part of this energetic expression here is to be aware of that. Yeah, it may not be easy. You may see things that need to change. It may not be that you make the change now, but they're coming to the surface during this period of time. It is supported by this Mercury retrograde in Virgo, being able to make the small adjustments, starting to tweak things a bit so that you can get more space and more clarity, whether that's like what I just described in terms of making slight tweaks and adjustments in your schedule, giving yourself more space, giving relationships a little bit of a tweak. That's supportive of this Jupiter and Taurus energy. And then the creative transformation aspect to Saturn, which is conjunct this full moon, it is helping you form a new structure that is more appropriate to where you are at this period of time. Going back to what I said before about the water being poured into the container, is that container adequate for me right now? Probably not. Have I held on to that container too long? Taurus energy, fixed sign, Jupiter in Taurus. Taurus likes to hold on to things that they feel are valuable, hold on to things that they're comfortable with. And so this crisis in action means, yeah, it's time and you see it. Let's make some tweaks and some adjustments so we can open up our energy to prepare for shifting. Things need to change to keep us moving forward. So as always, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time and energy, and I will see you again in another video. Thanks.